All right, should be good. So yeah, today we'll be just going through how to use Phabricator and Lando. This is being recorded, so I'll just go through everything pretty quickly, and we'll take some questions at the end. So Phabricator is our new review tool. You can check it out there. Lando is our new AutoLand tool, and both of these are being run by our engineering workflow team. And you can find us on Slack and IRC on these channels here. So if there's nothing else you take away from this brown bag, you want to just take away this link. This is our link to our documentation. Really, I'm just going to be going through most of this today, and it's pretty well documented on how to use both these services, so do check that out. And like I mentioned today, we'll be creating, reviewing, and landing a change. A lot of these things are not a lot, but we'll be changing some things in the future. So this guide and this brown bag might become outdated. We'll be updating our documentation though, so do make sure to check that out. And we might do another brown bag in the future, so watch out for that too. And if you just want to like follow along in this doc, you can just type this link here to follow along. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is set up our Phabricator account and our Canist. As I mentioned, there's excellent documentation, so go ahead and click through to here, and you can see like it's going to walk you through how to create a new account, how to log in, and so on. So for the production instance, you'll need an account on Bugzilla, which you all should have. And when you log into Phabricator, you log in via Bugzilla. In my case, I already have 2 accounts on our development instance, and you're free to use our development instance here to try things out yourself. So I'll just go ahead and log in. You'll see I get redirected to Bugzilla to log in, and I'll go ahead and log in. All right, cool. So I already created my account. Like I mentioned, you'll have to create an account, but the documentation will walk you through that. I won't go through it in this brown bag. So this is how your review queue will look when you log in. And you'll see a quick summary of the things you'll need to do. So things you need to review, things you can land, and so on. All right, so the next step is installing Canist. Canist is like the command line tool that you use to push your changes on your terminal up to Phabricator. So again, you want to check out the documentation. We keep it updated. Especially check out the Phabricator documentation, which you can see here. It's going to walk you through like the actual installation of Canist, but that's linked through from here too. So the gist of it is that you'll need PHP curl extension, and Git. If you're using Mercurial, which you probably will be, you'll have to have that installed as well. Once you have that going, the next what you'll want to do next is clone these 2 repositories. You want to clone them in like a single repository. So in my case, I have a folder called programs, and you'll see here I've already cloned these 2 repos. One thing to note is that if you're using Git Cinnabar, you'll need to clone a different Canist. So this fork of Canist will works with Git Cinnabar, and it basically just lets it translates the commit IDs so that when you push up a change, someone that's using Mercurial can pull down that change, and when they push up a change, you can pull down theirs. So for now, you'll have to clone that if you're using Git Cinnabar. As I mentioned, I already have these cloned. So the next step is going to be adding a Canist bin to your path. Ideally, you want to add it in your shell startup file so that you don't have to add it every time you open up a new terminal. I'll just go ahead and show you mine. So you can see here it's in my path. And another thing that you probably want to add is you want to explicitly export your editor environment variable. Canist is going to open like Nano by default, and I know not everyone prefers that. So if you prefer Vim, you can just go ahead and export that as well. And that will make your life easier. All right, so at that point, you should have Canist up and running, and you can test it out by running org help. After you do that, you want to run org upgrade to get the latest changes right away. that's going to fix a few bugs that we found. So definitely run that. And just to demonstrate, I'll run arc help. And that's, you know, in this case, I have arc and it's all working, and that's good. All right, so the next thing we want to do is we have our Canis installed. We have our Phabricator account. We want to like connect the two, right? So that our Canis knows that when I push up a change, this is my Phabricator account. To do that, we're going to run this command. One thing to note is that when you run that command, you probably want to be in the context of the repository you're working in. So in my case, I'm working in my test repository. And we see here in this repository, there's a file called arcconfig. And when we look at that, there's basically just some configuration so that Canis knows which Phabricator instance it's talking to and some other things. So if you use a Mozilla Central, just be in Mozilla Central when you run the arc install certificate command, or Mozilla Central already has this config file. If you're working in a different repository that doesn't have that configuration file, you can work with us to get that added, and you should be good. So when you run that command, it's going to show you like a web page. It's going to show you a secret key on the web page. Just want to copy that key and paste it in your console. I won't do that here because I've already done it, and it's pretty straightforward. And the last gotcha in installation is if you've been using MozReview in the past, now that we're switching over to Phabricator, you'll remember that MozReview adds like this commit ID and the commit message whenever you create a commit. Since if you're not going to use MozReview anymore, and MozReview in fact is being decommissioned in a few months, you can just stop that behavior. So for Mercurial, you can go ahead and disable it in your HCRC file, just comment out the extension. And if you're using git cinnabar, you can just delete the hook that gets installed. So just go ahead and delete that hook, and you should be good. All right, so at this point we have our Canis, we have our Phabricator account, and now we're ready to make some changes and get those reviewed. So in Phabricator land, you'll hear revision a lot, and revision is basically just the unit of review in Phabricator. So it's like the same as the PR in GitHub or the review request in MozReview. Revisions can be created from like one commit. So one commit can map to one revision, or you can have like many commits that get squashed into one revision, or you can also have many commits that map to many revisions. So it's pretty flexible, and we'll see. In this case, we'll make like the third case here. So we'll make like a small series of revisions to push up. All right, so we're gonna make our first revision, and again, you want to just check out the documentation. It's pretty comprehensive and walks you through a lot of stuff. To start off though, we'll need to make our change. So I have a little sample change that I'll just copy paste. So I'll just go ahead and add this file. Oops. And now we can commit it. All right, so if you've been working in like Mozilla Central, you know that every commit needs to have a bug number. At least most commits need to have a bug number. So you can go ahead. I'll just go ahead and grab my bug that I'm using here, and that's going to come in handy when we push up our change to Phabricator. You don't have to specify the reviewers at the end of your commit title like you do with MozReview. If you want to, you can, but we'll see with Lando later on that it'll add that for us automatically. So now we'll just add a helpful commit message. All right, so we see we have our new commit here, and we should be ready to push that up to Phabricator. So to do that, we have this command called arcdiff, and arcdiff is basically going to take your current working directory and compare it to the base commit. And in this case, the base commit is going to be the most recent public commit in HG, or in Git, it'll probably be the master branch. So if you want arcdiff with no options, and we'll see in the next commit that we make, you can run it with some options. It's going to do that for us. So in this case, it's going to make a diff between commit 29 and commit 28, which is public. So we just ran arcdiff, and you'll notice that we have this prompt that comes up. You'll notice also that the prompt automatically fills the title of our commit in the first line. That's going to be the title of a revision when we submit it. And it adds the commit body to the summary of the revision. This next field is the test plan. This doesn't get added to the final commit message, but it does show up in the Phabricator UI. And it's useful if you want to give your reviewer some extra information on how to test your changes. It's not required though. Our next field is the reviewers field. This is where you're going to specify your reviewers, and here you want to use the username of the Phabricator username of your reviewers. So if your reviewer doesn't have a Phabricator account yet, you want to just ping them and get them to do that. So I'll just go ahead and type my reviewer's username. And by default, Phabricator just requires that. Well, let me demonstrate. You can have several reviewers, and by default, Phabricator will only require that just one person reviews it. So once the first person accepts your change, your change is going to be removed from the review queue of the other people. They can still review it, but it's not going to be in their dashboard, which might be confusing. So if you want everyone to review it, you can just add an exclamation point at the end of their names. So it's a little bit different from Moz Review and Bugzilla, but that's just how it works in Phabricator now. You can also make this change in the UI too. So for now, we'll just have one reviewer though. We will make them block in though. You can also add subscribers for people that might just be interested in your change. Just put their username here too. And lastly, you'll have to manually add the bug number again. There's a bug with Arcanus that prevents us from automatically filling that for you. So hopefully we can get that fixed soon. But for now, you'll just want to type that up again. So from here, we can save this. And now Arc is going to push up our revision. So it was successful, and we can go to this link to look at it. All right, so this is how a revision looks. You see our title. We see the authorization level needed to see it. In this case, everyone can see it. See that this is my account who created it. We have our reviewer, who is a block-in reviewer. We have the bug number, the summary, a little timeline of what's happened so far, and we see our diff down here. You can also do interdiffs, and you can look at the raw commit message that created this revision. All right, so we have that, and now we'll just go ahead and make another one just to make it a little bit more complicated. In this case, we're making a revision that depends on this revision, and again, there's helpful documentation on how to do this. So do check that out. For now though, we'll just make some more changes, and I'll grab my sample change again. Oops. And we can go ahead and commit that. Again, we'll need our bug number. Oops, can't spell. All right, so now we see we have a another commit, and we modified the same file, so it's clear that this commit depends on that guy. So actually, before we run arcdiff, one thing I want to mention is that in my commit message, actually one thing I forgot is in my commit message, I just want to make sure that, actually, so I'm wrong. First we want to run arcdiff, and like I mentioned, arcdiff is going to run the diff between your current working state and the most public base commit. So in this case, we don't want that, because if we do that, it's going to think that we added a fixed-up commit to the existing revision and try to update it, and that's not what we want to do. We want to make a brand new revision. So we'll just cancel that. In this case, we want to run arcdiff between our current working state, which is commit 31, and commit 30, and you can just specify which commit you want to run as a argument to arcdiff. You can also just use like .caret if you want to just run between this and the parent commit, which is most commonly what you want to do. So I'll go ahead and do that now. All right, so again, we see our prompt. We see the title, the message. We'll go ahead and add a reviewer again. We'll add a bug number. And for now, it's a little bit tedious to make a series of commits, because you'll have to manually specify the revision it depends on. In this case, it's our D473, which we just created. There are some changes that we're working on to make this a lot easier though, but for now, that's what you'll want to do. You can also make that change directly in the UI using this option here, which is grayed out right now. I don't know why, but let's create this new revision. So we created a new revision, and you'll see that down here it creates a stack of revisions for us. You can see the 2 commits that we made, and it's clear that this one depends on that one. So you can create stacks that are very large, and Lando will look at that stack when you try to land things to make sure that you don't land things when something else it depends on hasn't landed yet, which we'll get to later. But right now we have our new revision, and it looks good. Looks like this other one. The diff of this one is a little bit more realistic, and you can sort of see how Phabricator presents those changes to you. So now we can get into reviewing this change. Actually, before that, one thing I want to mention is sort of just detailing what happened via Bugzilla and Phabricator. So we had our revision, and we have the bug number. And if we go back to the bug, you'll see that an attachment gets created on Bugzilla for these 2 bugs, or these 2 revisions. Another thing to note is that if you look at the timeline here, the revision starts off as secure, and from there, Bugzilla comes through and makes sure that only the people that are allowed to see the bug are allowed to see the revision. So in this case, and in this case, the revision is public because the bug is public. But if you had a confidential bug and you want to do a review in Phabricator, you're able to do that now, because Phabricator and Bugzilla ensure that that revision is only accessible to people that are allowed to see it. And now we can get into reviewing the revision. So for this, I have my separate viewer account. And you'll see that in your dashboard, it very clearly shows you the things you'll need to work on. And, you know, so flags aren't synced between Bugzilla and Phabricator except when you approve a revision. So most likely you'll be coming to Phabricator every day to like look at your review queue and see what you need to do that day. So let's go ahead and review this first one. So in Phabricator, just like Mouse View and GitHub and most other review tools, you'll just add comments on each line that you want to review. And one thing nice about Phabricator is that you're able to use remarkup, which is like Markdown, but with some extra features. So you can just look at the quick reference here to sort of see what it can do. Some of my favorite features are color-coded code blocks for whatever language you're using. And also I really like these big notes that you can have for things you want to call out. So we'll just go ahead and add a few comments on this then. For more complicated changes, you can like preview your change before submit or saving it. So if you're using like some complicated markdown or remarkup, you can go ahead and preview that, which I think is pretty neat. Another cool thing about Phabricator is that for changes that have like really for changes that have a lot of files, there's this option called the file tree. You just hit F and it'll show you a sort of like a graph of all the files, and you can jump around between them pretty quickly. So that's something that I found pretty useful. Once you've added all your comments and you're ready to finish your review, you can go to the bottom of the page to finish that review. So at the bottom, you'll see there's a summary of the comments that you've added, and in this box here, you can add like a overall comment on the review. And up here, you'll see this little drop down. This is the actions drop down, and that's where you like choose if you want to accept a revision, request changes, have a different reviewer. You can also commandeer the revision, and that basically makes you the author, so you can edit it yourself if you want to. So in this case, we'll choose to request changes because there's some things that we want fixed up. All right, so now it's clear that this revision needs even more revision. And in my author's dashboard, you'll see that Phabricator lets me know that, hey, I need to update it. I need to update this then. So now we can just go ahead and fix that. So you'll notice that we need to fix this base commit, right? In fact, as the author or as my reviewer, I'll just go ahead and accept this this other one. So it's clear now that this one was approved, but we need to update this commit 30. To do that, you want to just update to that commit. You can modify your file, and we won't really fix it. We'll just say that we did. And now you want to run arcdiff again. So if we were updating commit 32, we want to make sure we run arcdiff with the same arguments that we used originally. So it would be like .caret, in this case, we can just run arcdiff because that's how we originally submitted this revision. And when you do that, Arc will know that you're trying to update. Oh, sorry, I forgot to commit it. I'll do an amended commit, and when I run arcdiff, Arc will know that I'm trying to update the same revision. You can also add a little comment about what changed. All right, so now if I go back to my reviewers dashboard, I see that that's back in my review queue because it was changed. And now I think it's fine, so I'll just go ahead and accept that. All right, cool. So in my authors dashboard, I see that both of the things that I created are ready to land. And now we can start by landing the base commit. So to do that, you can just go to the revision, and in the sidebar here, there's this link to view the revision in Lando. So I'll just go ahead and click that. Once you come to Lando, you will see that Lando gives you a pretty quick summary of what you're trying to land. You'll see the revision title, and you'll see that if it's been landed before, if it failed to land, if you've never landed it in this case. You can click through to see the exact diff that you're about to land, so that's pretty useful. And you'll see the reviewer status. You can also see the full commit message. Before you can land it, you'll have to log in with Auth0. So you want to log in with the email address of your account that has L3 access or whatever access required for the repository you're trying to land to. And now that you're logged in, Lando knows that you are permitted to land this thing to the repository, and you can just queue it up for landing. So this is how it looks after you click the land button. You'll see that landing is queued. Down here, you'll see this really big red box. That's our fault. It's just a bad UI design for now, which we're going to be changing pretty soon. This is just preventing you from landing it again before it finishes landing, which obviously we just landed it now, so we're not trying to land it again. So also another thing about Lando is it doesn't automatically refresh the UI right now when it succeeds in landing, so you'll want to do that. Again, that's something we're going to fix pretty soon. But I'll just refresh the page, and hopefully it's been landed by now. All right, so we see here that it successfully landed. This is a commit SHA of what it landed as. Also, we plan to link that directly to ht.mozilla.org for you guys to make that a lot easier to find. And if we really want to, we can land it again, but we're not going to do that right now. We can come over to the repository, and we'll see that our new commit has been landed. We see our changes, and we see that Lando also updated the commit message to include who approved it. So, like I mentioned, there's several UI improvements coming to make using Lando a lot easier. Also, right now, you'll notice that if you want to land like our stack of commits, you'll have to land the first base commit and then land the next one, and that can get pretty tedious when you have like a stack of like 20 or so revisions. You don't want to land don't want to land them one by one. So we have a lot of work coming soon on making that a lot easier. And lastly, right now you're able to review confidential revisions in Phabricator, but you're not able to land them, which is pretty lame. So that's also another thing that's coming pretty soon. You'll be able to review and land commit revisions, confidential revisions in both Phabricator and Lando. So yeah, that's about it for now. Do give us feedback if you find anything that doesn't work or can be improved on. We love good and bad feedback. You can find us in Phabricator and Lando on IRC and Slack, and that wraps it up basically. So.